Thank you for joining us again and welcome back to our channel. In this episode, we shall be looking into the reason why France continues to struggle in the continent of Africa, why France is currently in a reactionary mood with regards to its strategic option in the region. France's decline is evident at the moment. France's presence in the region in such a way that the country is reacting in regards to other geopolitical competitors in the region. That's allowed the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, to go out of his way to take some options. Emmanuel Macron has reacted beyond any other president that we've seen in the country of France to reunite the relationship, to bring that energy again back to the continent of Africa. But that is proven to be difficult at this moment with the presence of the Russians who have engaged Africa like never before seen, and also the Chinese who are economically driven to push the continent of Africa. You have the United States of America who is not giving up so far with regards to the events in Niger and also across the Sahel region. This particular moment as we speak, France is in a reactionary mood. If you look at the events in Guinea, considering the past couple of years with regards to the coup in Guinea, how France reacted at the time, but the recent visit in the country of Guinea by Russia's foreign minister Sergey Lavrov has ignited conversation in France, which has allowed the French president Emmanuel Macron to send a delegation to the country of Guinea to reignite the relationship. This tells you that France is not backing out with regards to its objectives in the continent of Africa. However, what we are hearing from France at the moment are things like partnership, collaboration, and also integration and investment in a number of ways. Let's take a listen to regards to the current visit by the French delegation in Guinea. This video is coming to you thanks to our friends, The African View. Let's listen to it and we will dive into more specifics with regards to France's presence and in reactionary mood in the continent of Africa.
Following the high-profile visit of Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov to Guinea, France has hastily moved to reassert its influence in the West African nation. In a reactive measure, France dispatched a high-level delegation led by Jeremy Robert, Africa advisor to French President Emmanuel Macron. The delegation was received at the Palais de la Colombe by Guinea's Prime Minister. The French delegation's visit purportedly aimed to reinforce ties between France and Guinea. Official statements emphasized strengthening cooperation across various sectors, including economic development, regional security, and defense. Jeremy Robert delivered a message of friendship, solidarity, and support from President Macron and French authorities, although the timing and nature of the visit suggest a scramble to counteract Russia's influence. We discussed the different areas of the bilateral relationship, a relationship of friendship. I also brought here a message of friendship, solidarity, and support from the President of the French Republic and all the French authorities. We drew up a bilateral overview on the economic level in terms of regional security and defense, and we also brought our commitment, our solidarity with the Guinean transition, discussing the next steps which are very important. Prime Minister Amadou Iba, with members of his cabinet, highlighted the importance of the visit in reinforcing Guinea's international partnerships. However, the urgency of this engagement raises questions about the depth and sincerity of France's long-term commitment. France's rapid response to Russia's diplomatic engagement in Guinea highlights the competitive geopolitical environment. The hurried nature of France's actions suggests a reactive rather than proactive approach, raising questions about the authenticity and longevity of its commitments. While France presents this visit as a reaffirmation of historical ties, the broader context indicates a strategic move to counter Russian influence.
My team and I have just had an excellent meeting with His Excellency, the Prime Minister and his team, where we agreed on the way in which we will work together. We reaffirmed our support for the development program that we established with the government, which emphasizes social services, the growing economy, inclusivity, sustainability, and strong institutions under the rule of law. We will work very closely in the coming months and years to achieve these objectives.
Make no mistake, as we consider France's shaky grip in the region at the moment, France still has significant control. Don't forget, France still controls the currency of a number of countries in West Africa. and France can still decide to pull the rock, and that may have significant economic impact with countries in that particular region of the continent of Africa. France is flexible as well. However, the geopolitical competition at the moment with the United States on the ground, you do have the Russians who are engaged in Africa, you have the Chinese and the Middle Eastern partners as well, and a number of hosts of other countries who have decided to engage Africa in a manner that has never been seen before. Why African nations are choosing their partners, France still have some significant presence in terms of financial aspect in West African nations, in countries that are using the French franc. Remember, France was a darling in the western part of the continent of Africa, including Central Africa. France had the chance and the opportunity to grow its presence even before the arrival of other geopolitical competitors at the moment. However, France did not take that opportunity to engage Africa from a strategic and win-win situation. France's trade with the country of Guinea is not as compared to what it is at the moment with the country of China. If you look at other areas as how France continues to lose its grip in the region of Africa, the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, has gone out of his way with several visits in the continent of Africa, not just within the French-speaking sphere of influence, but he's gone a long way to engage other countries in the region. France's presence has come into question. That's the reason why you find other French senators and also officials questioning the overall strategy for France in the region. France President Emmanuel Macron, most recently as well in Montpellier, engaged Africans, youth, ignoring the presidents of the continent of Africa to figure out a new strategy on how to reset this relationship. So far, it's not proven in a workable way. We made a video with regards to how France is trying to reset its relationship, and more importantly, why the President Macron is one of the most progressive presidents in French history based on our own research. Let's listen to that analysis, and then we will jump into the more conclusive aspect, and we will bring you some analysts who will give us the French perspective with regards to his geopolitical strategy in the continent of Africa, considering its decline in an area which was formerly considered a stronghold for France with regards to its presence in the region. Let's listen to this video and we will join you on the other side.
After a year that saw France forces conducting counter-insurgency operations against jihadist rebels handed out of Mali and also Burkina Faso by military coup, anti-colonialist street protests, and also Russia's presence and interaction in the region prompted French President Emmanuel Macron to announce a fundamental overhaul of France's African strategy. If you look at other aspects, the words coming out from Paris at the moment include humility, partnership, and also investment, and now the key word is a reset that the country of France is aligning with regards to its interaction with African countries. Many Africans were understandably skeptical as the French president took his new doctrine on a tour most recently, looking at a couple of years ago, with regards to his travel to Angola, Gabon, the Republic of the Congo, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, an aesthetic mix of former French, Belgian, and Portuguese colonies that have big economic potential and are being heavily counted by Russia and China as well as the European Union. The days of La France, Afrique are well and truly over. Emmanuel Macron insisted in Gabon's capital Libreville. He was not the first president to promise an end to the post-colonial manipulation of African politics with crony ties between the French elites and long-serving African autocrats. If you look at France's strategy, the French leader enunciation of a sea change in Francophone Africa's ties.
Under Emmanuel Macron, France understands the damage with regards to its reputation in the continent of Africa in a number of West African countries, specifically in the Sahel. That's why France is re-strategizing itself to engage Africa from a more economic perspective. Macron has struggled to also sell that message to a number of African nations. I think the message is falling on deaf ears because other countries like Russia, the United States, and also amongst European Union countries, including Germany, are engaging Africa from different angles, considering France to be a major player at the moment, and they are basically ignoring that message. But the French leader is not sitting quiet, it's continuing to push the narrative gradually. Don't forget, France still have some allies in the region like the Ivory Coast, Senegal, and also Mauritania, including Guinea-Bissau and a number of other countries including Cameroon and also Gabon and several other countries. So France still have some leverage in the region, and France continue to push the message. Somehow it could stick in the region. With all of this in place, it has made the French President Emmanuel Macron, from my own perspective, to be seen as one of the most progressive presidents in French history.
Moving ahead, Emmanuel Macron went ahead to say, "We have reached the end of a cycle of France's history in which military questions held prominent in Africa." Macron said, "The first French president to be born after the end of colonial rule. Henceforth, there will be no military bases as such, but new military partnership with African allies. The French forces on the continent will be focusing on training local troops in a conscientious effort to shed the mantle of paternalism and hand scrutiny with regards to his own perspective." Emmanuel Macron built his 4-day trip at a time around themes of saving African forests, developing agriculture, investing in African businesses, and also supporting a transition from fossil fuel to clean energy. He also went ahead clubbing in Kinshasa at the time, beer in the land with Congolese singer Fally Ipupa. If you look at France's strategy, he steered clear of France's traditional West African backyard, where Paris' counter-insurgency policy suffered a despite setback in the region. Emmanuel Macron proved to say that our destiny is tied to African continent. If we are able to seize this chance, we have the opportunity to anchor ourselves to the continent of Africa, which will increasingly be one of the youngest and most dynamic economic market in the world, and one of the greatest, he said, the greatest center of the global growth in the decades to come. Emmanuel Macron saw those words in the region. He was making a virtual necessity to say, at least, by shrinking his military footprint without abandoning key footholds in Senegal, Ivory Coast, Gabon, and Djibouti, France hopes to avoid further forced retreat from the continent of Africa's strategic corners is still not looming. Then, referring to Russia's Wagner mercenaries who have supplanted France's forces in Mali and also Central African Republic, Macron said he was not sure Africans would soon regret the paramilitary group's presence. He went ahead to say, but small crowds of anti-French demonstrations in Libreville and also Kinshasa were a reminder of France's tarnished image among many young Africans, as well as accusations of political interference that dogged Macron's attempt at a new start. If you look at France's perspective, in Gabon, protesters accused the French leader of helping veteran president at the time, Ali Bongo's re-election campaign, a change he felt obliged to deny. And in the DRC Congo, he faced both public criticism from President Felix Tshisekedi as well as a protest by opposition activists during his trip. If you are France in Africa, you simply can't win. No one is going to take your professions of good faith and political neutrality, partnership, and brotherly love at face value. Emmanuel Macron has arguably been the most progressive French president when it comes to Africa, officially acknowledging colonial France's mistreatment of Algerians and seeking an ever-elusive reconciliation. He has apologized in Rwanda for his country's role in failing to prevent the 1994 genocide by the Hutu militias against ethnic Tutsi. Macron has reached out to youngest civilian society and startups, sometimes over the heads of African governments. He has agreed to scrap the CFA franc, the 8 nations West African currency tied to France, to be replaced by the ECO in 2027 based on information. He is the first French leader to have returned cultural treasures to Africa as well, sending a collection of statues to Benin in what is likely to set a precedent. Despite this effort, yet, though they make France's colonialist blood boil, such gestures are too little, too late for many Africans based on historical information. France will probably be the best advised to channel its effort instead of under the more politically acceptable banner of European Union, which is building a comprehensive partnership with the African Union, the key principle of which were outlined at a summit in Brussels as of February of 2022 based on our own research. As bad luck will have it, however, that bonding relationship has been overshadowed by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which has also monopolized European Union's political and also financial attention. If you look at that strategy, Africa can clearly see how the bloc, France included, has also plunged billions of euros and military financial assistance into Ukraine, while support for African peace and security efforts has been for more constrained. They also see how Ukraine has gained EU candidate status and been center stage at every summit, while Africa has to struggle to secure even a bilateral help in procuring a COVID-19 vaccines based on research. More importantly as well, the war in Ukraine has added to food insecurity and also energy prices squeezing on the continent. For many Africans, Europe seems more concerned with blaming Russia than helping. Macron, Africa's reset is in many ways a halfway house. He admitted as much in his big speech. We are held accountable for the past without having been totally convinced about the shape of our common future. The decision to rebrand the African bases as joint training ventures was itself reportedly a compromise between advisors who argued against yielding another inch to France's adversaries as well, and others who want to shutter much outposts and also refocuses the armed forces on preparing for possible high-intensity warfare in Europe and also Indo-Pacific. If you look at what happened, while 61% of voters think France should stay in Africa because of the economic and security interests as well, also to help prevent mass migration to Europe. An orthodox poll for La Figaro based on our own research shows that a similar majority in pessimistic about France's African ties and doubtful of Macron's ability to build a new partnership. This may not be the last Franco-African reset as France continues to inch its way to regards to building a new relationship.
From our analysis, you can find that France has done everything under Emmanuel Macron to reset this relationship and engage the continent of Africa. It seems that Africa is ignoring France so far. However, France is not giving up. But the question here is, how did it come about that a country that was once considered leading nation in the continent of Africa, which a number of other policies were channeled to France from the United States of America and other European countries? What happened that France lose considerable influence? The question is, can you just blame the French President Emmanuel Macron, or you can go back to a long French history in the continent of Africa based on its historical presence and interactions with countries on the continent of Africa? That's the reason why experts will consider that France still have some blame, and also the French policy in the region has some other impact. Let's listen to analysts who will consider the current France's regression in Africa have some impact with the geostrategic presence of France in Africa and also France's image as a global power if you consider his presence in the continent of Africa. Let's listen to that and we will close down this episode.
In recent months, several countries in West Africa have moved to end their military ties with France, demanding that French troops leave the region. The former colonial power appears to be losing its influence in the Sahel. That's despite President Emmanuel Macron's election promise to reset ties with the continent. So, what's behind the shift? What role has Macron played? And where do French-Africa relations go from here? We'll get to our guests in just a moment. All right, let's bring in our guests. For today's discussion from Saint-Malo in France, we're joined by Jacques Grélon, who's a senior research fellow at the Global Policy Institute think tank. From Paris, we're joined by Anne Giudicelli, political and security risks consultant at Terra Risk, a consulting firm with a focus on economic and strategic intelligence. And from Johannesburg, Marisa Lourenço, an independent political and economic risk analyst. A warm welcome to you all. Jacques, let's start with you. What's gone wrong for France in Africa? President Macron wanted to transform France's relationship with its former colonies, but has had to rethink his approach after a series of humiliations. To what extent is this about Macron personally, not just about France?
No, I don't think it's just about Macron. It's probably about France, because don't forget that France's increased involvement in the Sahel region started in January 2013, when President Hollande responded to a call from the Malian authorities to stem the action of jihadist group who were going towards Bamako, and stopped that. And at the time, France's action was welcomed by the population. François Hollande was ecstatic, said it was the best day in his life. French flags were everywhere. So France was seen there as an army of liberation. But as over the years, the security situation did not improve in spite of the presence of thousands of French troops in Mali, there was disenchantment in the population, and the Army of Liberation started to be seen as an army of occupation. And France's presence in West Africa was, in the Sahel especially, was challenged. France also is the ex-colonial power, so there's strong anti-colonial feeling. Then it spread to Russia. Is not the only country. Many countries are interested in that part of the world and want to undermine France, who has been for a long time, really, yes, it's true, the master of that region, the gendarme of Africa, security, controlling governments, but it's no longer the case. France's influence, economic and political, in that part of the world has never been as weak, and protests against France's influence are never been as strong.
Do you agree with what Jacques was saying there, that this isn't necessarily about Macron and his personality and the way of doing things? Why is there so much anti-French sentiment in Africa today? I mean, what has changed?
Well, France is one, as it has been said, is one of the let's say the most powerful partner, more historical partner, well known by this area. So I think that now it's no more a question of being a former colonialist power. It's finished this period. I think we enter into a globalization period. That means that, first of all, we have more competitors that are more aggressive, that are more easy to deal with, let's say. And also, we didn't adapt as French or European country, or even the American, they didn't adapt their approach to the continent, because also we have new generation, we have new needs, new, let's say, demand from partnership. And main point is the fact that now the population, they ask for sharing the wealth and the resources that they have on their own soil. So, and mainly what is always said, and you can hear that at any coup or any demonstration, is the fact that, the narrative is that they fight against government which is linked to a power, a foreign power, France or US, and which is let's say sharing the resources and the wealth, but for the government from state to state and not toward or at the benefit of the population.
We want to thank you for watching. Hopefully we've informed you with regards to the reason why France continued to struggle in the continent of Africa, and why France under President Emmanuel Macron has gone out of his way to re-strategize and reset the relationship, but so far is working to an extent, and in some aspect France still face some challenges. We want to thank you for watching. Let us know what you think with regards to the current situation and the geopolitical environment in the continent of Africa. Keep the conversation going. Watch some of our other informative videos. If you like content like this, smash the subscribe button. We would definitely appreciate it. We are looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Have a good day. Bye-bye.